Welcome to Fearless Wild Creative, a podcast for those who want to be led by confidence, guided by creativity, and grounded in nature. I'm artist and designer Meghan Aileen. I have spent decades turning creative vision into a way of life. Each episode blends metaphor, story, knowledge, and practical tools. Whether you're growing your courage, your creative voice, your work, or your connection to nature, you belong here. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Fearless Wild Creative Podcast. And this is a wild episode. I decided to call this one, I Like the Taste of Grass. And you will see why in a second. So I will pretty much eat anything. I like what some might consider really weird foods. Like I like bitter tasting things like super dark chocolate, like 85% dark chocolate. I drink bourbon neat. I have been known to drink shots of apple cider vinegar. I drink herbal teas that some people might think taste like dirt. And I'll even like herbal tinctures and remedies that are really bitter or earthy. And I actually prefer that to sweet. I don't actually like things that are that sweet. So, and I have even gone around my yard just like tasting the leaves off of things, which I know are edible. Don't do this, by the way, unless you know they're edible. But I do sometimes. I just walk around my yard out of curiosity, tasting leaves. So I know this is not typical and might sound a little strange here in our society here in the US, and maybe most places, I don't know. But like my fiance, he is the opposite. So if something doesn't taste good, which usually means sweet or salty to him, he is resistant to it, even if it is good for him. But to give him credit, he has gotten a lot better with this. But so I definitely want to give him credit for that. And he's not the only one. I see this all around me. But I find it so interesting because I think it does translate into how we handle certain things in life too. And that is where the metaphor comes in. Because today I want to talk about discomfort and how it's okay to be uncomfortable sometimes. And actually leaning into that discomfort is one of the most powerful ways that we build resilience and creativity and fearlessness. What this podcast is about. We live in a society that is constantly trying to make us more comfortable, right? Like you see it everywhere. Apps to make things easier, faster delivery, devices and inventions like the Roomba vacuums make it so you have to do less and make your life easier. We have food that's engineered to taste good, but has absolutely zero nutritional value or any value for your body whatsoever, and actually is probably harming it. And everything around us says, avoid discomfort, make it convenient, make it painless, make it taste good. And don't get me wrong, I love food. I want us all to enjoy food, and it's okay to try to make your life easier, but we don't have to like everything we put in our mouths. Remember, this is a metaphor too. I was listening to this report on artificial dyes and how we all know how bad they are and the damage they do to our bodies, but when they tried to remove the dyes and use natural dyes in like cereals, the cereal wasn't as colorful and people stopped buying it. And it's such a strange thing if you really think about it. I would rather poison myself than have a breakfast that is less colorful. But a lot of that I know is a lack of education on health. And I don't mean to be critical of people that simply just don't know better, but it is very strange when you think about it. But here's the problem with that concept overall, though, in our society is that comfort doesn't prepare us for trials. Comfort doesn't create resilience. And without resilience, we can't step into our fearlessness. And without fearlessness, we can't fully access creativity. Creativity is what lives in that space where things aren't perfectly easy, where you risk, where you try something that might not work, where you feel a little uncomfortable and you push yourself and you access parts of yourself that are painful and you bring them to the surface. But let's go back to the herbs for a second. I have studied herbalism extensively and herbal remedies, and they often taste bitter. But biologically speaking, that bitter taste is actually what makes it work. When bitter compounds interact with our taste receptors on our tongues, they initiate like this cascade of digestive responses throughout our entire system. This signaling is what primes the body to effectively start to break down food and absorb nutrients. And the bitter taste receptors are not only present on our tongues, but they're also throughout our gastrointestinal tract. So their activation in the gut can lead to beneficial metabolic effects such as stimulating the release of gut hormones that regulate appetite, digestion speed, blood sugar levels, all sorts of stuff. So that very thing that makes it taste bad, quote unquote, is actually the medicine, or what's making it do good things for your body, which is super interesting. And throughout history, in various cultures, they eat bitter greens as a salad of sorts before a meal to help with digestion. And of course, today, our appetizer salads at restaurants and stuff are mostly made of iceberg lettuce and ranch dressing, which doesn't have the same effect as, say, the bitter dandelion greens, but it is actually where that tradition of eating a small salad before a meal comes from. It's to help your body digest the meal you're about to eat. And most of the way that we feel about taste is due to how our taste buds have been trained. So we really only think that bitter is bad because we have been trained that sugary, colorful cereal is better, right? Sugar itself is a whole nother discussion, but you are probably at least slightly aware of how it is more addictive than many drugs. It messes with our dopamine, how we can have withdrawal symptoms when we stop eating it, which says a lot about what it's doing to our bodies. So that is why it is pushed everywhere, because companies are playing on those weaknesses of the human body. I'm not going to get too far off on that tangent, but I do want to make the comparison between our taste buds and bitter versus sweet and how we live our lives. Discomfort doesn't mean something is bad necessarily. Sometimes it's actually the thing that is healing you, growing you, preparing you. It could be just that you are so used to the sugar, which is a metaphor, obviously in this case, or the easy way of doing things in your art, in your work, that you just don't recognize that another way might not be bad. You just aren't used to it. You also might not recognize that the sugary thing in your life, the thing that is going easy for you, might actually be harming you, even though it feels good or tastes good. So that is why I think it's important to be aware of this and recognize what is truly good for us and what maybe just feels good in the moment. This doesn't, of course, mean that anything that feels good is bad and anything that feels bad is good. Don't want that to be the message here. It's about awareness and thinking these things through in the bigger picture versus just going with what tastes good in that moment. And just like with food, we can train ourselves to be okay with that discomfort in our lives. If you think about kids and broccoli or coffee, most of them hate it. But as adults, we learn to love it. Like with coffee, nobody likes their first sip of black coffee. But over time, we acquire the taste, and then some of us end up can't live without it. We've talked about this before. We are adaptable creatures. Nature is adaptable, and so are we. Our taste buds adapt, and so does our nervous system. We can train our minds and our bodies to accept and even enjoy these uncomfortable experiences because they're not threats. They're just new or weird or different, but they're not threats or dangerous. So here is a few mindset shifts that might help. So instead of this is bad or this tastes bad, ask, is this actually harmful or just uncomfortable? Big difference. You can also try to reframe discomfort as growth. So when it feels awkward or weird or unfamiliar, maybe that's just proof that you're expanding or growing. So think it through in that moment. Which one is this? You can celebrate small wins or try small things like just drinking bitter tea, sitting in stillness for 5 minutes. I know that's a hard one for me. Sitting still can be really uncomfortable for me. But I do know it is valuable for my nervous system. So, you could try something that is valuable, but makes you a little bit uncomfortable, little tiny bits at a time. As we always say, we start small and be consistent. You can lean into curiosity instead of resistance. Like, what will this teach me? I wonder what that tastes like. Is this good for me overall? So asking these questions in the moment, or as you go throughout your day, and just it's the awareness of it, and then asking yourself these questions, I think can really help. Because think about all the experiences you could be missing out on by staying stuck in what is familiar or comfortable or sweet. Think about the ways that trying bitter things might benefit your creativity. This is actually where creativity comes in, because creativity is not comfortable a lot of the time. It asks you to try new things, to risk failure, to share ideas that might get judged. It also wants you to dig into those deep parts of yourself that you might not be comfortable bringing to the surface. it wants you to like dig into the past to experiences you would probably just rather forget than actually express. It's inherently uncomfortable being creative. But this brings up things to the surface. Like bringing those uncomfortable things to the surface has value, right? It's what allows us to process them and release them, and what allows us to express them to the outside world, which in turn helps others that might have gone through or felt the same thing. It's beautiful, and it's one of my favorite things about creating, but it is uncomfortable for sure. But just remind yourself that it's okay. The more that you train yourself to accept discomfort, whether it's drinking the grassy tea, trying something that might not work, digging deep into those uncomfortable feelings, and the more fearless you become in your creativity and in your life. And when you build that resilience, like we've talked about in other episodes, your creativity has that room to flourish. You can stand in the unknown and say, I'm okay here. I can handle this. It's all good. I learned the hard way at an early age that I don't do well when I push things down and ignore them. I need to get them out to the surface so I can deal with them. I think that's part of why I am an artist. Even if it is uncomfortable, I would rather have the benefit of what that bitter thing is going to bring me than to miss out on something great just because I didn't like the taste of it at first, because I didn't even give myself a chance to adjust to the taste. And in life and creativity, that translates to being willing to step into new experiences, to try new things, to keep pushing edges of my work and my art. And sure, sometimes it's really uncomfortable, but then that's where the magic happens, right? In our modern society, it is so easy to avoid discomfort altogether if you want to. In fact, it is literally designed for us to do so. And yet, how much are we missing out on when we do? So here's my little challenge for you this week. Do one thing that's uncomfortable, but not harmful. Just drink bitter tea, drink something that tastes bad. Walk around barefoot outside for a while. Your feet will be soft and sensitive at first, but they begin to toughen up over time. And have a hard conversation you've been avoiding. Ask someone for a favor. Talk about money. That's a hard one. Try the new thing that you've been resisting. Notice how it feels. Notice how quickly your system starts to adapt when you stop labeling discomfort as danger. Because generally with the types of things that we're talking about here, discomfort is in no way actually dangerous. Something that tastes bad in no way hurts you. You might not like it, but it's not going to actually hurt you in any way. A very simple mantra that you can use for this is, so what? I don't like this. This tastes bad, but so what? So it just kind of simplifies it for you and brings it back to like, well, what are the consequences really? Like you're uncomfortable for a second. You know, it's really not that bad. I may not have this issue with taste, but I do have it with a lot of other things like administrative tasks, talking to my clients about money. So I do need to do the same thing in those situations and say, so what, Megan? You want to get paid? You got to talk about it. It might be uncomfortable, but it isn't actually going to hurt me. So in closing, sometimes the medicine we need tastes like grass, and that is okay. It won't hurt you, might be uncomfortable, and a lot of the times that is how you know that it's working. The wild parts of life, the uncomfortable, the untamed, the unfamiliar, that's where resilience grows, where you become fearless, and where our creativity flourishes. Thank you for being here with me, my friend. So go take your grass-tasting medicine this week, whatever that looks like for you, and I will see you in the next episode. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. If you're curious, you can find my paintings and all my creative tools on my website at meganaileen.com. If you feel like you could use some one-on-one creative consulting or coaching to reach your goals, you can book a time with me. I would love to talk to you. You can also join us in my masterclass where I teach you how to create magical rentable spaces on your own property. Visit styleforprofit.com or just come connect with me on Instagram at Meghan Aileen. If today's episode sparked something, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might appreciate it. Until next time, be fearless, wild, and creative.